Hello! So I finally edited a full video and put it up on YouTube. I learned a whole bunch from that one. I'm going to do another Quora question today. I found one that had over 100,000 upvotes. I haven't read it yet. And yeah, this will be Quora question number 2. I figure I might as well number them. All right, let's take a look at the question. I'm obviously still learning how to do all this stuff, so maybe this is terrible. We'll see. All right. What's the best career advice you've received as a programmer? There are basically 3 kinds of companies that employ programmers. First is companies where programming is not a core part of what they do. Those companies consider IT to be a cost center, something that is to be minimized. You will have difficulty advancing your career in that environment. They may have a fixed budget for programmers to support internal applications, and everyone has to get in line. Software development competes for budget with antivirus software licenses and other infrastructure costs. Those companies are probably wrong about the impact that software could have on their business, but that's not the way management thinks. IT may be considered mission critical because the business relies on it to operate, but not transformative as it would be in, e.g., a next generation bank, which replaces humans with software. Enterprise companies may have a fair amount of money for IT, but not offer ability to make impact and ultimately get paid for the value you create. This is an interesting concept in general as far as how businesses actually work and where management considers value to be added. An interesting example that this immediately reminds me of is my dad used to work for a trucking company, and it's really easy to see which avenues bring value, like to the bottom line. Like if you sell trucks or if you sell parts of trucks, you're making a clear amount of money on any kind of spreadsheet or anything that management looks at. If you're doing administrative work, you're just a sunk cost. So there's always a balancing act there. In sales jobs or whatever, the salesmen are kind of the stars, and there's always some kind of weird dynamic balance in companies for obvious added value and kind of hidden added value that doesn't directly translate to profit. And that's what this first category that this guy is talking about. That seems like it would be a nightmare to work in to me. I'm sure there's people that don't mind it at all, but first of all, I think IT kind of always fits in this, and IT isn't necessarily what I think of when I think of a software engineer. So we'll see where the rest of this question goes. I don't agree with the idea that IT doesn't add value to a company, but IT is one of those thankless jobs like middle management and a lot of others where as long as nothing goes catastrophically wrong, people don't even know that you exist and don't give you any kind of credit for what you're doing. They can kind of just say, yeah, that's your job, and what we're paying you is appropriate. There's no upward mobility because, I mean, honestly, maybe there shouldn't be, but either way, the worst thing you can do as an IT person is actually try something new, because if it goes well, nobody will care. Things will run as expected, and if it goes badly, you'll probably get fired right away. There's no incentive for innovation, and at an IT level, that makes sense, potentially. Depends on the company that you're working for, I guess. All right, let's see what's next. Second is consulting companies, where programming is the fundamental thing that the company does. Management values your ability to get things done, and customers do too. They want you to do more of it and do it better. The fundamental limit, however, is the number of billable hours in a day and whether you can convince a customer to pay you for the value you are delivering in an engagement. For example, improving conversion rates in an e-commerce system. Succeeding in this environment means more than writing good code, however. It means taking responsibility for making customers successful, managing your team, and managing the consulting business itself. Sometimes these things are in conflict. Yeah, so again, this is interesting. This is kind of, maybe depending on what the third category is, this might be where I fit in as far as where my career has gone. It kind of gets to exactly what I was saying, where what are you actually selling at the company? And if you're selling the software itself, then there's a lot of incentive for you to get better, mostly so that you can be fast. But I think companies in general understand software enough to understand that there is absolutely a difference in quality. And most of the time they understand that if the quality is very bad, but the software still kind of works, they're going to be losing money in that area anytime the software needs to be changed. It's on a person-to-person basis whether or not they understand the pros and cons of making good code. So anyway, let's finish up, and then I'll talk a little bit more about this. Third is product companies, where there is almost infinite leverage to the software you write. When a company has millions of users of their software, the cost of developers is less important than their ability to execute. Product companies generally have the best opportunities for pure development skill. You are still relying on the product managers to determine the right thing to build and the company to have sufficient funding. These different kinds of businesses get mixed together, e.g. a software product being sold to enterprise customers with professional services to set up and support it in production. You can look at the same thing from different directions to get different opportunities. More enlightened businesses see software or machine learning as an enabler, but contrast how software would be seen in Amazon's e-commerce business versus its cloud business. Look for places which fundamentally value what you do and compensate you for doing it better. You should also look at what other skills you need in order to be successful. For example, playing politics, managing customers, managing a team. Look for a place where you can make an impact doing what you are good at and will be rewarded. This is a great answer all around. This whole transition thing might not be worth the effort. What can I add that would be interesting to the way that this guy answered the question? I guess I can add exactly the way that my career went and kind of figure out where I fit in that. I work in avionics software. I work for a smaller company that often contracts a small team to larger companies like Honeywell or GE or Rockwell Collins, or Collins as they're called now. And we work on whatever avionics software is needed. I can go into a lot of depth about what exactly avionics software includes and how it's tested and stuff, but I'm not going to do that right now. What I will say is we are absolutely selling the software that we're writing, which I think lines up with enterprise company because I don't work in that industry. I don't know exactly the breakdown between consulting companies and product companies. I wanted to clarify as I was editing this. I finally thought about it enough to know the difference between consulting and product. Consulting is a company that would go in and give a software solution to a company that doesn't normally work in software, some specialized software potentially. A product company builds a software product that somebody buys. I'm working in avionics where we're writing software for an airplane, which is closer to the product side, I believe. The important thing about this question is what's the best career advice that you've received as a programmer? What is question is basically saying is what are you trying to do with your career? And here are some different company types that will accelerate your career in one direction or another. That is fantastic overall high-level advice. The best career advice you've received as a programmer is what the question was about. This guy gave a pretty well-informed answer from like a really high level, especially for beginner programmers. You do need to know if the environment that you're getting into is actually conducive to you continuing your career. The other thing that I would recommend that this guy touches on at the very end of the question is look for places which fundamentally value what you do and compensate you for doing it better. You should also look at what other skills you need in order to be successful. For example, playing politics, managing customers, managing a team. Look for a place where you can make an impact doing what you were good at and will be rewarded. So yeah, that's perfect. I know what I'm good at. I know the basics of how I should be rewarded. And the way that I'm rewarded, because I'm not a real pushy person, I don't go in and ask for raises or anything. I basically make myself indispensable on any project that I'm on by virtue of trying to tackle the most difficult problems that are there. And really, it's a semi-selfish thing for me where that is the most interesting part of my job. So it's like a win-win. I get to do something that I consider incredibly interesting and fun, and the customer gets somebody that solves all their most complicated problems in hopefully a competent way. If you're a new programmer, you want to find a business that allows you to do something like that, at least if you're wired like I am. Not everybody is, obviously. Some people would rather work with people. Some people would rather not work in the industry at all. I always think of Joe Rogan saying, I can't imagine all these people just hammering away at a computer in a cubicle and they're all so miserable. It's the worst job ever. It's like a cattle farm. That's not my experience at all. Like, solving engineering problems is really fulfilling and fun. The fact that you're in a cubicle for some parts of it doesn't matter. And in the end, that's actually something that I would say for anybody going into any career. Like, what's the best career advice that you've ever received? Are you really good at what you're doing? Do you find it fulfilling? And do you get paid enough to actually live doing whatever it is? To me, that's the way that I look at my career, and I've been very happy doing it. So, anyway, I think that's enough. I'm going to try to edit this down. I realized when I was editing previously that I need to have some coherent main thoughts that I'm trying to hit, and then I need to make sure that I hit those cleanly. Yet another reason, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to finish recording this one, and then I'm going to record another one where I write a bullet list and read through the question very clearly, come up with everything that I'm going to say, and then go from there and see which one is better. I'm guessing that the other one where I'm actually a little bit organized is better. But we'll see. All right. Bye.